In recent years, multi-day river cruises have experienced a real boom in Europe, including in Croatia. In this show, we'll take you along the Danube River through Slavonia and Baranja and other parts of eastern Croatia because, in addition to cruise ships, other types of vessels from many parts of Central and Eastern Europe can also travel in this lesser-known part of Croatia. Stay with us and learn more. The Danube is the second longest river in Europe after the Volga and the longest river in the European Union. It originates in the Black Forest in southwest Germany, and with its 2,857-kilometer-long course, it connects many countries and cities, such as Vienna, Bratislava, Budapest, and Belgrade. At the end of its course, it flows into the Black Sea, forming a delta between Romania and Ukraine, which is on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Currently, around 400 river cruise ships with a capacity of over 70,000 passengers sail on the rivers of the European Union, most of them on the Danube. The Danube flows through Croatia for 137 kilometers. The river enters Croatia in Batina, located on the Croatian border with Hungary and Serbia, and it flows out of Croatia near Ilok. The largest and most important Croatian city on the banks of the Danube is Vukovar. Batina is the first port on the Danube after it enters Croatia. It is a small pier that offers basic boat services such as water and electricity. Not far from the pier, there is a monument to the Battle of Batina. This memorial complex was built in memory of those who fought in the Battle of Batina in November of 1944. The memorial complex also includes a tomb with the remains of 1,297 Red Army soldiers, mostly Ukrainians. Baranja is known for its excellent gastronomy and wines. In a restaurant that brings a typical Baranja village to life, you can enjoy two of the most popular dishes: rack-grilled carp and slow-cooked clay pot beans. Of course, there are other specialties like kulen and kulen seka, as well as many other delicacies. So Baranja is definitely the right place for hedonists looking for great gastronomic experiences. The Kopački Nature Park is a floodplain in Baranja, between the Danube in the east and the Drava River in the south. The nature park has a total size of 177 square kilometers, of which the Special Zoological Reserve covers 80 square kilometers. This area changes its appearance significantly during the year, depending on the intensity of the flooding, mainly from the Danube and to a lesser extent from the Drava. It is the largest breeding ground and hatchery of freshwater fish on the Danube, and the most important ornithological reserve in Croatia. About 140 species of birds nest here every year. The great biodiversity of the 2,000 biological species reflects the park's rich flora and fauna. In Tikves, there is a palace, hunting lodge, and residential complex from the 19th century. It was built by members of the Teschen lineage of the Habsburg family. Throughout history, the castle was a residential hunting center, known on a European and global scale, but open exclusively to guests of the court and rulers. Osijek is the largest city in Slavonia and the fourth largest in Croatia. It is Croatia's greenest city, with over 17 parks. The center of the city is dominated by the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul, a magnificent neo-Gothic building with a tower 94 meters high. The main street and the central square are named after Ante Starčević, a Croatian politician from the 19th century. This is where the urban life of the modern city takes place. The entire length of the city stretches along the Drava River. The city side is protected by a fortified bank and the Baranja side by a dike. The fortified bank has been made into a promenade. Along it, the people of Osijek participate in all kinds of sports, from cycling to rollerblading. The part of the promenade near the main square is also a favorite meeting place. Here there is a stretch of numerous cafes with terraces next to the winter harbor, where you can relax, chat with friends, or find out what's new in the city, with a refreshing drink, coffee, and cakes. The boat mill on the Drava River is a new attraction, and it is also the largest water mill in Croatia. This water mill brings back memories of the old days when Osijek was the center for growing grain and making baked goods. In the past, the kompa was used to cross the Drava River. This is a cable ferry that connects the city center with the opposite bank, where the zoo is located. It is a favorite attraction for visitors to Osijek. Tvrđa is a Baroque city fortress from the 18th century, created by the transformation of an older fortified city that stood at a key strategic crossing over the Drava River. It was the first new city fortress created as part of a large strategic system of Baroque fortified cities on the border with the Ottoman Empire. It was designed and built by Prince Eugene of Savoy in 1712. Although a significant part of the fortress has since disappeared, the city of Osijek can boast that it is one of the few cities in Croatia that has a harmoniously merged Baroque urban core and military fortress. Osijek is especially known for its Art Nouveau, a style very popular throughout the former Austro-Hungarian Empire. The magnificent city palaces in European Avenue, that are today mostly luxurious office buildings, were built at the very beginning of the 20th century in the style of the so-called Viennese Secession. Aljmaš is a village in the municipality of Erdut, located on the right bank of the Danube River. It is known for the shrine of Our Lady of Refuge. It is one of the stops for the river cruises in this area. On the Feast of the Assumption, it attracts many pilgrims and tourists, and annually it draws up to 100,000 visitors. This area is also famous for excellent sweet cherries, grapes, and wines. Certainly the biggest attraction for river cruise visitors and all other guests is the city of Vukovar, a city that suffered heavily in Croatia's homeland war in 1991. But 30 years on, this is a completely new modern European town. In preserved written documents, Vukovar is mentioned as early as the beginning of the 13th century as Volko, Walk, Volkov, that is, Croatian Vukovo, the name the city bore until the 14th century, after which we know it as Vukovar. The city of Vukovar is located approximately halfway along the Danube's waterway between Ulm in Germany and the mouth of the Black Sea. Its modern passenger pier on the Danube can accommodate 3 ships at the same time. It often feels crowded and busy as ships and guests change quickly here. Vukovar has become a port celebrating art. It got a new look and was placed on the map of urban contemporary cities. The painted areas are an attraction for many tourists, a kind of open-air art gallery. After walking through the streets of Vukovar, take a break in one of the modern cafes. The people of Vukovar are famous coffee drinkers and enjoy this hot beverage. They always take it in company. It's not just a favorite ritual, it's a lifestyle. The city center of Old Vukovar is recognizable by houses with Baroque arches built in the typical provincial Baroque style. Once upon a time, these were artisan workshops. These workshops spoke eloquently about the economic power of the wealthier stratum of Vukovar society. At the same time, New Vukovar was developing with the same recognizable Baroque construction of Old Vukovar during the 18th century, with a noticeable stylistic distinction. Most of the buildings in this part of the city on the left bank of the Vuka bear the marks of pure and restrained late Baroque classicism. To this day, this well-rounded Baroque whole remains the dominant stylistic core of historical Vukovar, with numerous architectural landmarks prized for their highly artistic and ambient value. The Eltz family estate in Vukovar is one of the most monumental examples of feudal architecture in Slavonia. It comprises a palace that served as the residence for the Count's family, 4 Baroque manor houses from where the estate was managed, farm buildings, the Church of St. Roch, and the Orangery, which is now a gallery. There's also a park that stretches from the palace to the Danube. Today, the City Museum is located here, where you can see the rich history of this region and the city of Vukovar. 5 kilometers downstream from Vukovar, along the banks of the Danube, is the Vučedol archaeological site. It is one of the most important archaeological sites of the Neolithic period. What makes it special is the value of the finds and the ability to determine the entire structure of the site. This has made it possible to name an entire culture, the Vučedol culture, after the site. And at the same time, this is the area where the culture originated. The Vučedol Orion, which is considered the oldest European calendar, also belongs to the Vučedol culture. The discovery of this calendar speaks of a highly developed civilization and culture in these areas more than 5,000 years ago.
Hrvatska turistička zajednica je ove godine odlučila dati značajniji naglasak na promociji riječnog kruzinga koji također spada u jedan dio zapravo promocije nautike u cijelosti kad govorimo o hrvatskom nautičkom turizmu. Naime, Hrvatska turistička zajednica je sa 5 slavonskih županija dogovorila dodatne promotivne aktivnosti u 7 riječnih luka koje ove godine također bilježe izvrsne turističke rezultate s obzirom na povećanje broja dolazaka riječnih kruzera u te naše najveće riječne luke. To je još jedan dodatni vid promocije gdje ćemo i kontinentalni dio Hrvatske pa i kroz promociju nautičkog turizma pokušati dodatno pozicionirati i na neki način promovirati na globalnom emitivnom tržištu.
The next river cruise stop will be the town of Slavonski Brod. The modern passenger pier in Slavonski Brod should be completed by the end of the year, and as part of the project, an old ship will be renovated to house a restaurant, meeting hall, educational hall, and souvenir shop. The ship will be anchored on the new pier as one of the biggest attractions. This beautiful city is located on the northern bank of the Sava River, on the border with Bosnia and Herzegovina. During the Roman Empire, the city was called Marsonia. And from 1244 to 1945, Brod na Savi. Traces dating back to Roman times show that there has always been a river crossing here, which is why Brod is sometimes called the Northern Gate to Bosnia. The heart of the city and the favorite meeting place of locals is Korzo, a spacious promenade with restaurants, cafes, and a hotel. This is also the main square. With an area of 10,500 square meters, it is one of the largest squares in Croatia and the center of meeting and socializing for many residents. In winter, thanks to the ice rink and Christmas decorations, the square turns into a true Advent fairy tale. In 1694, a wooden Franciscan monastery was built, which served the needs of the communal religious life. The Franciscan monastery, still well preserved to this day, is one of the most striking Baroque buildings in Slavonia. Its cloister is the most representative example of monastic architecture in northern Croatia. It is a landmark of the highest rank. If you visit Slavonski Brod, you must take the 5-minute walk from the main square to the Brod fortress. The construction of the fortress began in 1715 and lasted for the next 60 years. The fortress was designed to accommodate 5,000 soldiers, although it rarely housed more than 2,000. Huge moats, bastions, curtain walls, hornwork, a cavalier, and accompanying buildings spread over an area of 2 square kilometers, which made the fortress much larger than the city of Brod, which was situated to the east of the fortress. The fortress was completely autonomous because it warehoused enough supplies in the event of a 45-day siege. The fortress was never attacked, nor did soldiers from the fortress ever launch an attack on neighboring Bosnia and the Ottoman Empire. It served as a deterrent. Kayaking enthusiasts will be interested to know that in July 2023, the European Kayak Marathon Championship will be held in Slavonski Brod. The small town of Ilok is the last river cruise stop in Croatia. The passenger pier can accommodate 2 vessels at once. Ilok, the easternmost town in Croatia, rises harmoniously above the Danube, nestled into the slopes of Fruška Gora mountain and surrounded by beautiful vineyards. It is a town with a long history, the inheritor of interesting cultural contrasts woven into its medieval core, one of the largest and most important urban fortification complexes in northern Croatia and the Danube region. Odeskalki Castle is the central building of the medieval center of Ilok. It houses the Ilok City Museum, while the famous old Ilok cellars are located underneath the building. The castle of the Odeskalki princes was built during the 18th and 19th centuries and contains parts of the walls of the medieval castle. The castle served as a summer residence for the princes and was built at the beginning of the 18th century. Today's appearance is the result of many years of development. The Odeskalki princes established the position of Ilok as an important wine-growing area, and in the 17th century built unique cellars under the castle. They planted better varieties of grapes and started bottling wine. These old cellars are still used today and certainly represent one of the most interesting attractions in Ilok. In 1899, the Royal Viticulture School was founded in Ilok, which later grew into the Agricultural School and today's vocational school for wine growers, winemakers, and fruit growers. But always and above all, Ilok is the Danube's kingdom of wine, which conquers both the market and most visitors with its traminac, as well as with other varieties of this area. Ilok's vineyards produce many quality wines. Traminac is known all over the world and is part of the wine collection of the English court. And there is also Graševina, Pinot Blanc, Riesling, Chardonnay, Frankovka, and many more. Numerous Ilok wines win medals and conquer new markets with their quality. The Principovac Manor House from the 19th century is the right place to enjoy an oasis of peace and greenery, superb gastronomy, and of course, a glass of excellent traminac or sparkling wine.
So we expect the storm tonight, and we made a distance from the dock. We pushed the moorings and tightened it more. And now we will secure everything inside, close all the hatches, doors, so if we are prepared for the rain, if it starts, and let's do it.
One of the most difficult considerations is whether to try to be aboard your boat for the storm. It's possible to imagine being able to reset fenders or adjust lines, or even run the engine to relieve tension on ground tackle. Whether any of this might be possible depends on the intensity of the storm and the surrounding conditions. A 60-knot wind and a 3-foot storm surge is very different from 80-knot winds plus waves and 6 feet of surge. In the latter case, almost nothing useful could be done, and the danger from the violent conditions and flying debris would outweigh any benefit of being aboard. Luckily, with today's forecasting accuracy and with your storm prep done, there should be plenty of time to decide. And let's hope none of us will have to make such a decision this season. Considering the attractiveness of the destinations where most of the marinas are located, the spatial capacities and micro-locations within the marinas, traffic accessibility, as well as the availability and sufficiency of communal infrastructure, a large number of ACI marinas are an ideal place for the construction of hotels and various other facilities. For example, when it comes to hotels, depending on the location, it is possible to build small boutique hotels with a capacity of 25 to 50 rooms of the 4-star category. The marinas in Umag, Opatija, Cres, Supetarska Draga, Vodice, Skradin, Trogir, Milna, and Korčula, and the marinas in Pula are emerging as potential locations for future ACI hotels.
ACI je dakle najjača i najveća nautička tvrtka na Mediteranu, pa tako i u Hrvatskoj. Međutim, nova uprava je uspostavila jednu novu, ja bih rekao, razvojnu matricu. Utvrdili smo da nam je previše prihoda ovisi o vezu, tako da se u budućoj strategiji su se nametnuli kao prioriteti prije svega nova strateška partnerstva. Jedno od njih je 23. marina koja će ovdje nastati sa Lursenom. Nadamo se da ćemo s istom grupacijom nastaviti našim drugim projektima. Osim toga, odlučili smo se za nove akvizicije. Trenutno smo u postupku koji je daleko došao vezan uz marinu u Lošinju i uskoro očekujemo raspisivanje natječaja Ministarstva mora za marinu u Novalji. To bi bio drugi stup. Treći stup bi bila zelena i digitalna tranzicija. Ušli smo među 14 hrvatskih tvrtki na listu Europske investicijske banke vezano uz bespovratna financiranja naših razvojnih projekata. I ono što je možda najvažnije, odlučili smo se za diversifikaciju poslovanja, što znači da ćemo na lokacijama na kojima ACI ima koncesiju, na 6-7 najvažnijih i najboljih lokacija ćemo gradit ćemo butik hotele. To će biti prva odrednica. Druga je izgradnja, odnosno osnivanje vlastite čarter flote i treća je davanje većeg akcenta na gastronomsku ponudu našim marinama i na maloprodaju. Ključna priča koju moramo prije svega toga riješiti pitanje koncesija, mi moramo produljiti naše koncesije. Na tom tragu dali smo zahtjev našem resornom ministarstvu mora, prometa i infrastrukture i uvjereni smo, očekujemo da će to u dogledno vrijeme biti riješeno na pozitivan način.
We have reached the end of this interesting episode, but also the end of this season of the Wind Masters Croatia series. We hope that you enjoyed it and learned something new, and that your stay in Croatia will be more pleasant and easier with our presentation of nautical routes and destinations. Finally, let's remember the words of the great American writer Mark Twain. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover.